that's how I became a life coach. And I will tell you, most of us have trauma that we are essentially trying to heal from. Well, some people are still running from it. And then for me personally, getting emancipated at 18, and like in the society that we live in the world that we live in, it's very easy to, I think that was one of the biggest transformations for me, like that transition from like being a teenager, emancipating real quick, life coming at you, and then
can allow you to do that and to bring awareness to what it is that you need to let go of. Hey y'all, welcome back to Transformation to Expansion. I'm your host LaJoie, and today we have a very, very, very special guest. Her name is Briana. She is an artist, an author, a healer, and founder of Evolving Soul. She's from Sacramento and went to Sacramento State University with a bachelor's in criminal justice and associates in sociology. She spent her career working in nonprofit within her community, uplifting, advocating, empowering, and prioritizing the healing for system-impacted youth and adults. Through prioritizing her own healing, she became a certified life coach. She's also a tarot reader and intuitive medium. And she uses all of these tools to help her clients connect with their authentic selves and create a life that serves them better. She's also a plant mom who loves music, being by water, and traveling. She loves creating and being able to express herself through various forms of art. Please welcome Briana to the show. Hey, or Bri, I call her Bri, but how you doing today?
Hey everybody, thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm very excited to be a part of your podcast, and I'm doing great. I'm feeling great.
Yeah, and I'm excited for you to be here too.
Really great energy right now, so it's up.
Good. So as you know, on this show we talk about our transformation journeys, and so my first question, of course, is always going to be, what was your big transformation, or what was one of the biggest transformations you had in your life, and what was one or many of the catalysts that led you to that transformation?
Ooh, that's such a deep question, because I feel like I've had many transformations. And it's a little bit hard to choose, but I would say I'm gonna take it way back, I guess. So when I say I've had many transformations, I think I would say the first one would be me emancipated from foster care. I think that transition from youth to adulthood is such a big one that we don't really talk about. And then for me personally, getting emancipated at 18 and like having to like figure it out and not really having those examples. I think that was one of the first things, because I was like, all of a sudden overnight, I'm considered an adult, right? And I think within that process, I think life kind of just taught me, like, I definitely remember being like, okay, you need to figure it out. I remember like kind of like looking at my family and being like, okay, I don't want a life like this. And I will also say that I never necessarily thought about going to school. It wasn't like a dream of mine. I know that some people are like, oh, I dreamt of going to college. That absolutely wasn't it for me. I essentially kind of picked college because it was like it was the only option at that time. And I will say I've been better for it, right? I think going to school has definitely provided me with a lot of knowledge, but also it has put me in different spaces that I didn't necessarily think I would be in, if that makes sense. So I think that was one of the biggest transformations for me, like that transition from like being a teenager, emancipating real quick, life coming at you. And then I feel like I went through another transformation. I would even say one of the top threes would be me choosing to move to Oakland, move move into the Bay Area. I remember at that point, it was in 20. I moved here in 2019, so I definitely remember a year I knew a change was coming in my life. Um, so I had my crystals out. I was, praying, doing all the things, and really stepping into my power, manifesting, is what we call it. And I had no intention to move to the Bay Area. Be honest, I was planning on moving to LA. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but Spirit was like, no, that's not your path. um, so
Mm-hmm.
I've been here since 2019, and I would say since I've been here, I've transformed so much. I was just thinking the other day, I was like, things are so different. Like how much things have shifted just from like the decisions that I have made for my life, and like actively choosing not to be in an environment or like around folks that like either trigger me, or if I'm feeling like not inspired. Um it's like you really have to make those choices, and it's hard choices to make, because I definitely remember like moving and then feeling like guilty in a way, because when you're on your own path and you have people around you, your friends, family, and things like that, who are in certain positions and things like that. And I'm saying it like that just because I don't want to put nobody else's business out there. But
Right. Right.
um, I feel like we all have family. We all have trauma, or at least most of us have trauma that we are essentially trying to heal from. Well, some people are still running from it, but I
Right.
think I definitely chose to that path to say, what, I don't want my life to be um a certain way, looking at other people's life. I'm somebody that could learn from somebody else's mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely was just, envisioning what I want my life to be like. And then also just holding that, because in the society that we live in the world that we live in, it's very easy to get discouraged. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I had to be like, okay, this is your path, especially as a Black woman, and as a Black woman with a disability, um, that is very visible. So,
Mm-hmm.
I have to. I think one of the biggest things too is learning how to take up space, and learning that it's okay for me to take up
Mm-hmm.
space, because you'll see, especially when it comes to disabilities and Black people, you don't see a lot of, well, at least personally, me personally, don't see a lot of Black folks with disabilities um, who move about in the world. And I'm also going to preface that and say physical disabilities, because somebody can have a mental disability, you might not know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the biggest thing is just learning, taking up space, and letting myself know that it's okay for me to do that. And I think that has really helped me out a lot in my own journey. And hence, um, I guess being able to meet people, and like different doors opening up for me when I started my
Mm-hmm.
own healing journey. And just to kind of see how beautifully things unfold, even in the moments where I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going on, but still having that
Mm-hmm.
like faith to be like, you know what, I'm gonna take that jump.
What brought you to that point when you told yourself, I don't want to say I need to heal, but you saw that there was a change you wanted to make and you were like, it's time to make this change. I don't know how it's going to happen, but God willing, the change is going to happen. So what moment led you to that decision ultimately, right? It's a decision that you have to make for yourself. And in that moment, like what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome to make that change?
Um, trying to be intentional with my answer. I definitely don't think that there was a specific moment, but
Mm-hmm.
more so a collection of moments where it was
Okay,
like,
okay, that's fine, that's
you
fine.
know,
That's fair.
you moving about life and you're just like, oh man, I'm tired of this. I will say specifically, even before I moved, I had a job working with youth. My first job, or one of my first jobs, was working with youth, and I'm like
Mm-hmm.
helping these youth get like jobs, enroll in school, and like all the things. And then next thing you know, I'm at the job for like 4 years, and they telling me what am I doing? I'm like I'm trying to figure it out. Um, but I distinctly
Mm-hmm.
remember, which is the funniest thing, which I absolutely believe in the power of manifesting. Is I was talking to my
Mm-hmm.
coworkers. I'm like, I'm gonna have a new job by this date,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna get real specific. The date was July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
No, June 30th, 2019, and that's
Mm-hmm.
when like the fiscal year. That's like the last day of the fiscal year for folks who are working nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I got my job in Oakland like 2 weeks before that date, and I was just like, wow,
Wow.
like how divine is timing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so just to go back and answer the question, yeah, it wasn't like a specific moment. It definitely was like a whole bunch of moments, like bottled up into one, where it was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I need to
Mm-hmm.
like live my life. I definitely am one to say like I don't want to leave this earth without experiencing all the things that I deserve to
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
And something else
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
say is like I'm like I've been through too much in life to be unhappy. So why
Mm.
not? Like why not take
Mm-hmm.
that step to be happy and like go after what I want? And it's hard. I don't and I feel like I say it like it's kind of easy. Like, healing is not easy,
Mm-hmm.
transformation is not easy. It's like one of the
Mm-hmm.
hardest things that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm like really deeply thinking about it. Right? I'm like, nah, the journey was hard, but you have to make hard decisions. Like, um,
But
especially
I love.
when you know that you are.
Mm-hmm. No, go
I
ahead.
do apologize because I think,
No. Yeah, there's a
um,
lag, so it's okay. It's okay. Just keep on going.
no, no, no problem. Um, I didn't forgot what I was about to say.
Well, okay. Well, one thing I want to say, and I just want to highlight real quick for the audience. I love, absolutely love that quote that you just said. I had to write it down. I've been through too much to be unhappy. I am really, it's such a beautiful statement because you recognize, it's really powerful, but you recognize the stuff that you've been through, right? And you were like, you know what, I've been through it. I've been through the unhappiness. I've been through the trauma, if there was any. I've been through all this BS, and that was enough. I think that was like a part of you that was like, that was enough. I don't want to be in that state anymore. I don't want to be there. I'm out. We packing our bags and we leaving. Which is so beautiful. And then you chose to be happy, right? But I really love that statement because I think a lot of times when we come from trauma, when we come from, I don't want to say we come from trauma, but when we experience certain things that um I guess don't make us happy, that's how I'm gonna put it. Um
mm,
we're taught to dwell on it, right? We're taught to dwell on it, and we're taught to focused on it. And when we start to focus on it, it keeps us there, right? So I love this statement because you're really acknowledging what you've been through, and then you're also acknowledging it from the outside looking down or in, or however you want to put it, right? Um you're recognizing what had happened, and you're like, nah, I'm good. Let me, let me go ahead and start working on this new breed. Um and so I mean, but it took a journey to get there, right? Do you remember at least the first moment where you were like, nah, I've had enough of this and I'm ready to make a change? What was that kind of defining moment for you?
Mm. Let's see.
If you don't mind sharing,
I,
you
I'm even go back to say like, it was, I had a lot of moments like that, but I will say, and okay, I would say before I moved to Oakland, I had like a studio apartment. It was when I was like planning on leaving, and then something happened within my family where I was like, damn, I can't leave now. My sister got sick.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
Mm-hmm.
she got sick, and I was like, dang, like okay. So I
Mm-hmm.
ended up staying like a whole other year, and I was like, okay, when she gets better, like I'm out. And that's essentially what
Mm-hmm.
happened. She got better, um, and I ended up everything ended up aligning, and I moved. And I just remember in being in that headspace and just how unhappy I was with like where my life was, um
Mm-hmm.
unhappy with what I was doing. But not only that, I felt like Sacramento home had nothing else to offer me. Like I had
Mm.
learned what I needed there, and I wasn't going to reach any other.
This farm isn't just any farm. It grows for Juice Plus. Juice Plus is farm to capsule nutrition made from 30 different non GMO fruits, vegetables, and berries. Harvested at peak goodness to make nutrient rich plant powders in convenient capsules. Clinically proven for over 20 years to support your wellness. It makes it easy to help bridge the gap between what you should eat and do eat. Fruits and vegetables are always on the table with Juice Plus. Juice Plus. Goodness is our natural state.
Potential there. So knowing that, I was like, okay. And also I felt like what's the saying? A big fish in a small pond. That's really
Mm-hmm.
how I
Mm-hmm.
felt. And I wasn't like doing my art when I was there. I wasn't like really tapping into anything that made me happy. I was just
Mm-hmm.
existing. I was going to work every day, really just on
Mm-hmm.
autopilot. Going to work every
Mm-hmm.
day, coming home depressed, tired,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
being like, okay, when are things going to change for me? Like praying and all the things. But I will say this, and this is something that I have um been told multiple times throughout my life, is that saying, faith without works is dead. You can't just, so I'm like praying and all the things, quote unquote,
Mm.
manifesting. And then it's like, no, you doing all the things, but you need to be taking the steps to like get, take the steps to get there, show up in space. I definitely remember like before, specifically before leaving Sacramento, it was like I had went to this like seminar, and I forgot the person's name, but something that he was like, half of the work is showing up, and I was like, okay, how do I show up for myself and what do I actually
Mm.
really want. So
Mm-hmm.
like, what do I want? What will make me happy? Or that was the questions at the time. But I think now, instead of saying happiness, I say joy a lot, because I think those are they're two different things to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
it was like, went from like, what makes me happy to, okay, what makes me feel joy? What's good to my spirit? Um and then as soon as I when I moved to Oakland, I didn't even have a house lined up. Like, I had the job, didn't have the house lined up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I got in the job that I had, and it was working with Black women who were impacted by foster care system, and also sex trafficked. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a lot. And that was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even put that into words, how much that really opened up my eyes, especially being somebody who was in the system, and also knowing that the system is not good. It's very messed up. It does not treat kids right.
Mm-hmm.
So being someone who was in it, and now I was in that environment where I was like working in the system, and then seeing all the things where I was just like, oh hell no, like what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Um that job definitely made me depressed, and I definitely remember
Mm.
talking to one of my friends the very first day I got there. I was like, I'm not gonna like this job.
Oh,
And she goes,
not the first
just
day.
the first day. And she was like, you just give it a try. And I was like, I'm gonna give it a try, but I know me, and I know I'm not gonna like this job. And I lasted
Mm-hmm.
6 months, and
Mm.
then I found another job. I didn't like that job, so I left that job too, and which landed me where I am now in my career. Um, and specifically, I work with Black folks who have been impacted by violence, and that's essentially um, not how I got into like healing, but I will say that I have grown a lot since I came to Oakland. I think Oakland very much so opened my eyes to a lot of things, because there's so many beautiful Black people out here who is like intentional about their healing. Like, people doing healing circles, people are, it's like back home, it's like, you got crystals, oh, you weird, like what's going on? But out here it's like a very, normal thing for you to
Mm-hmm.
have crystals, or like own a like do tarot, and like all those things. So it's very intentional, and I've gotten to be in space and be around other like-minded people who
Mm-hmm.
also wants to heal, and like wants transformation, um and wants our communities to be better, and things like that. So it's a very interesting experience. um
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah, I would say
Yeah, I mean, like,
just moving here, I've had a lot of transformation.
okay, so just being in that space. Um, and I just want to make note real quick. So your manifestation journey, right? Manifestation, look, when you get into it, it takes trial and error. Like, and I'm sure you learned, you don't just need like, I'm gonna have a new job at this state. You got to put in the details. You got to put in, is it in alignment with me? Is it harmonious with how I live? Right? Like that you want to use those kind of keywords. And like I said, it
Yeah.
takes trial and error. I feel like that's what your 20s are for. You trying to figure out, how to really intentionalize your life. Um, and so you were saying that you work with Black people who are recovering from violence. I don't know the exact
It's
term.
impacted by violence.
Impacted by violence. That's what it was. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's interesting. So, so you moved, you want to go to Oakland. You're like, this is the community for me. This is where I'm supposed to be. And you went through two jobs to finally find the perfect job for you. Or so it seems like. So how, like, did that job fit like a glove for you? Did you kind of like easily fall into that role? and how does that job affect you? Like, did it empower you? Did it make you reflect on your own transformation journey even more? Like, how did that affect you? How does that job affect you?
Mm. Well, the job is like focused on healing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's focused on healing. And so I think the positions that I had before, it was very much so like I just wasn't meshing with the people. Like, and I'm somebody, if I go into a space, I'm not gonna be trying to like dumb myself down or like be having a code switch and like all the things. And like, no, I don't have space for that in my life, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do that for a job. Like, that's out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the
Mm-hmm.
older I've gotten, the more I'm like, okay, I deserve to be able to come as me
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
not have to deal with the ins and outs of like uh white supremacy issues. I will say my primary folks that I work with are Black and brown people. So that's a blessing in itself because I know that people don't have that luxury to be able to do that. And I think I would say through the position that I am now, um, that's how I became a life coach. And I will tell you, when I was at my job in Sacramento, I was telling my friend, this is years, like a good, it's 2019 or between 20, even before I moved. So maybe a year or so before that, I was saying, I want to be a life coach. I want to be a life coach always. And
Mm-hmm.
when I moved here, that's when I got the opportunity to do it, and I got trained under a Black woman. So
Mm-hmm.
it just was, everything has really been divine. I would say Oakland has 100% helped me like stand into my power, my creativity. um I released my book here.
Mm-hmm.
I started my business
Yes.
here.
Mm-hmm.
And everything has been centered around healing. When we talk about movement work, um I don't know if you know, but or if you're like as involved within like movement work and things like that. We tend to talk about just it's very one sided. We talk about abolition, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't. Healing is, it tends to be left out of that, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's really important to me that, especially for Black folk, um, that we really intentionally get the resources and the care that we need, and that really starts with us um, learning, or shall I say, unlearning a lot of the things that we have been taught as a community, as individuals, that tend to impact us on like really negative ways. And sometimes we can't really see it. And because you can't really see it, or you're so used to things being like the way they are, it causes harm not only to you, but like the people around you. So, really, um, getting people to like want to opt in into like their own healing and know that like, okay, you are important. Right, you are
Mm-hmm.
very important in your life. Like, um I always tell people like, you have favor over your life, no, if you, no matter if you like know it or not, you do.
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
and you have people, you have ancestors that's rooting for you always, even if you can't tell that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
um and yeah, I really, I'm such a strong advocate for like healing, like just doing your healing work, transformation, and really just taking power over your life, like really claiming your life as yours. I think that is really hard, but it's also very worth it to do that.
So, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely worth it. the society, the system that we live in, especially in the States as Black people,
Mm.
really does an excellent job of disempowering us from that, right? Not just from our ancestors, but disempowering our ability to take back our lives, take back our bodies, even. Um, and in another episode, I actually talked to a woman who is a survivor of sex trafficking. And one of the things that, similar to what you said too, it seems like in the States at least, the more involved in the system you are, the more opportunities of oppression there are for you to be exposed to. That's how I'm gonna that's how I'm gonna put it. Um and it does a really, really good job of disempowering. She talks about in that episode about how when she had the money to get out of the life, housing was another obstacle. It was so hard for her to find housing because everybody was like, oh, you need to have like, a 9-to-5 job. You have the money, sure, but you need to show that you've had, a job for the past couple of years. And then, of course, when she got a job and she had to do a background check and it showed one small, one charge of prostitution, they're like, oh, sorry, we can't, you showed up for the job, we hired you, but we actually can't fully hire you now because you have this charge. So there's just so many obstacles to keep us in those spaces. What are some of the ways that you help your clients or the people you work with, your community? What are some of the ways that you re-empower those individuals to say, yes, you can get out of it, yes, there is a path? How do you do that?
Mm. Um, I think essentially, again, getting people to like understand that they have power. When you give your power away to somebody, and that may be like even you saying like, okay, I have all these experiences, and I can use me as an example. I foster care, being abused, having a disability, just having multiple things against me, and also feeling like work, being having a disability and trying to get into the workforce. That is so difficult because people don't value people with disabilities. They kind of look like, okay, like, can you? They don't look at us as people. They just look at us as like maybe a burden, or like, can you actually do the job? You get questioned a lot. So
I know today's guest has you filled with questions, but don't worry. You're going to have a chance to sit in this seat on August 15th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have our first live Q&A where you get to ask the questions to a previous guest. Make sure to click on the notification bell, subscribe to the YouTube channel so y'all can be the first to know, because it's going to be first come, first serve, okay? I'll see y'all there. Peace.
I think really having that understanding or understanding is a word that somebody that I love dearly has been saying since I met them. They say understand because it's coming from inside. You are having that one like you're going inward and saying like, okay, this is the circumstances of my life right now. You know, where am I at? What do I need to do? What am I actually willing to get rid of? Having to address hard things, and also just knowing like, okay, yes, the system is against me, right? There's so many things that's against me in this life, but I don't have to be against me, right? What they say, it takes one door, right? And sometimes just gotta be like, you know what, I'm gonna create my own door. And it's very, very difficult. It sounds a little simple, but it's so hard. That is really, really difficult to do. But I think you really have to continuously call in your power, and also just I know for me personally, just having that faith and that determination that things will get better for me, because
Mm-hmm.
I've been so low where
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be here no more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's like, you know what, realizing like, okay, I have a lot to learn, and also just also realizing like life, we have so many experiences and so many seasons, and you just never know what season you're going to be in from today to tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
um and really just learning, um how do I say it, I'm trying to envision like when I'm in my coaching sessions with folks, I don't ask them why questions. I always ask them what or how. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you need to do? So asking myself, what do I need to do, and what
Mm-hmm.
support do I need to do those things, and
Mm-hmm.
how will I know? And these are things that I learned in coaching. Like, how will I know? Will I know when I get to that point of happiness or joy or success? Like, how will I know when I've gotten there? But also just really never giving away my power, and also giving myself grace. So we
Mm-hmm.
talk about the I've been talking about that a lot. Grace and showing myself compassion. All of those things are needed when you are um, trying to do better, or when you're calling other things in your life that you maybe haven't had, or like when people are so used to chaos and things like and trauma and things like that, and you get to a space where you don't have that. So it's kind of a foreign thing. And you're
Mm-hmm.
just like, oh, what's going on? This feels strange. But like learning to lean into those things.
Yeah, I mean that's
Um,
beautiful.
mhm.
That mindset, girl. That mindset is incredible. It's incredible. I mean, even from the first time, I met you in person, I was like floored by your self empowerment. It's for me, it's just nothing like I've seen in probably anybody that I've met. Um, it's really, really incredible your ability to tell yourself like, no, there is more. I'm gonna experience more, right? So I'm really curious. I mean, you might have always been this way. You might, I don't really know. But I just know
Mm-mm.
the breed now. Okay, so so was it coaching that got you to this mindset? What was it?
Um, it wasn't coaching. So I think I've always had this mindset, and I really think it's because I have a disability. And I
Okay.
say that to say, you just got to learn how to move about the world
Mhm.
a little different
Mhm.
than, um, and also like, I think growing up too, um, I think growing up was one of the biggest factors, because I went through some like severe abuse, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I
so,
remember you. Yeah.
and I do think early on, between that and like having a disability and things like that, it was just like wow, this is, I personally didn't think that I was going to be here past 18. I didn't plan for it. I
Wow.
didn't have no plans to be here.
Mhm.
But then when I was like, oh shit. Okay, I'm
You
here
wait.
now.
18 showed up and you're like, oh wait, that was actually pretty quick. Okay, well. That's really funny.
Right. I'm like, I'm here now. Okay, now what? Like, what's going
Dang,
on?
okay. Mhm.
Um, and so And I will also credit people. I had a lot of
Mm.
people that have came through my life and
Mhm.
dropped many gems here and there and things like that. And then also, I will say I've had people come up to me a few times and be like, "Oh my god, like just seeing you out like doing your thing, like that's so amazing." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So also that also made me realize that people are looking at you no matter if you see or not. Um
Mm.
so knowing that, and then just overall knowing like where I want to go and like what I want to do, it's not easy. I think
Mhm.
having this mindset is not easy. Like I always have to like remind myself like okay,
Yeah. Mhm.
you could do it, because who else is gonna tell you? I really do feel like sometimes you gotta really be your biggest cheerleader.
Mhm. Mhm.
As much as we are like our biggest critics, we can be our biggest cheerleader. And I'm like, no, I'm doing it. um and I feel like if somebody tells me like, oh no, you can't do this now, I'm like, oh, say less.
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna do it just because you said I couldn't.
Right, right. I know that's right.
so
Yes.
so yeah, it's just really a lot of training my mind and learning and unlearning, and exploring. We uh humans, people in general, are very like expansive people. Like you have to be
Mhm.
willing to learn and unlearn, and um essentially get to know yourself every single day, right? And I'm still in that process. I'm
Mhm.
still, learning, especially me like getting into like my coaching, with I think sometimes it can be seen as like really easy, but nah, you got to ask yourself them same questions that you asking your
Right.
clients and stuff like that. No, you
Mhm.
you have to also be intentionally doing that work. I believe that all Black people should have a therapist, and I say that to say I know that therapy is not accessible, and it should be.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, but I absolutely advocate for all Black people to have a therapist, or at least somebody that they can talk to help them sort out their things. I was lucky enough to have am still lucky enough to have a Black woman as a therapist,
Mhm.
and I'll get me in a session. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. That's something about me. I will
Mhm.
always be like, I'm trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
That's my word. I'm trying to figure it out. You know what she says? She's always like, well, you already know what to do.
Right, right, right. It's always like that. Yeah, yeah.
You already know what to do.
That's funny. Mhm.
I'm like, I do. But it's like, it's true. A lot of times we know exactly like what we need to do, but sometimes we need that extra person to be like, okay, this is what you need to do, or hold our hand through it. But sometimes you just got to do it and go for it.
Mhm.
Um, really just taking those leaps of faith, taking a leap of faith over and over and over again. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
I
that's
just cut
so.
off like mid sentence, but yeah.
You know, you good. It's all girl. It's all good. No, but I love you said so many like just on point things. The reminders. That's this is one of the biggest things for people. Not even people. Everybody who's listening, right? Myself included. Those reminders you need to see those reminders every day. It's really really important to just have those reminders around you, reminding you who you are, what you're here to do, and reminding yourself that really the only moment that matters is now, right? But those reminders are huge. I think it's one of the best hacks when it comes to transformation. Just reminding who you are and kind of allowing yourself to step back into that vibration of the person that you are becoming, right? Is so important. Um, And when we start to remind ourselves, that's when we can start to then make it a habit of knowing who we are, knowing the person that we had been working towards in the past, and now we're here in this moment as that future version of ourselves. It's so important to have that. And so, so you coach with your business Evolving Soul. Now I love that name, Evolving Soul. That is so beautiful. What was the
Thank you.
inspiration for that? And I'm sure it's also part of your coaching style, but what how did you come up with this name of Evolving Soul? Where was what's the story behind it?
Ooh, a couple of things. So
It's okay. We get it.
one, I believe that we are constantly evolving. It doesn't matter if you can see it or not, because I do think that we as a people are like, you don't see the progress, so it's like, oh, I must not be progressing, but it's like, mm, it's there. And sometimes you can wake up tomorrow and be like, oh shoot, I changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like something is different. So I absolutely, that's essentially why I picked Evolving Soul, because we're constantly evolving. And um soul, I think of like, what are we doing on a soul level to heal, to transform, so then you can see that in the physical form of where you're at in
Mm-hmm.
this realm of life, right? um is So that's how that's one of the things.
Mm-hmm.
But I released my book when I was writing my book. So my book is called Deep Down in My Soul, and
Mm.
i I wanted it to be in alignment with that one. And again, when I think of soul, I think of, that's like the purest form of energy of
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. So that's why, that's essentially why I picked it. And I think it's just so fitting for me personally,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but also a society in general, because we are all ever changing and ever evolving people on a mental level, a spiritual level, physical level, all of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're always growing, we're always evolving. So deep down in your soul, I love that title for your book. What is deep down in your soul, Bree? What what did
Ooh.
you find? Because this is such a deep statement, right? What's deep down in my soul? What is there? What's there? In your book, you kind of investigate that, right? What is truly there?
Mm.
And I just want to know, what did you find? Have you found it?
Raw, unfiltered, painful honesty.
Okay, okay,
That's essentially what that was.
okay. That's fair. That's fair.
I feel like I answered that real quick, but I really meant that.
No, but I love. I mean, it's truth, right? It's truth. That's yeah. It seems like that's like what is in everybody's soul, right? It's that truth of the human experience, and of Bree's human experience, right? Of my human experience. Everybody's gonna have a different human experience, but it's like the truth of what it is, the darkness of it, and then also the beauty that can come from that darkness. Um, that's beautiful. I love that you you got straight to the point.
I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna also add in
Okay, okay.
here too, because you said everybody's experience is different, but I will even say that they're different, but they're also the same, because we all generally have some of the same. Our experiences may be different,
Hmm.
right? But our feelings and things like that tend to be the same. We
Mm.
all, not we all, but everybody feels sadness, happiness. Some folks, may feel depressed. Like we all have the same types of emotions, even though our experiences may be different or similar,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think people are not that far off. I will say everybody wants to be different, right?
Right. All
And
right.
we
Right.
are,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and we are, but we are also very similar. Um, on many different levels. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that, because sometimes when you're going through an experience, especially if it's like a traumatic one, we tend to think like, I personally definitely remember thinking like, oh man, why me? Or like, I'm the only one that's feeling this
Mm,
way. And then you
right.
go outside and you're just like, damn, it's a whole bunch of people that's also feeling this way.
Right. It's like a community, and you're like, oh wait,
So,
okay.
mm-hmm.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's not just a few. It's like community people. Which is why
It's
it's so
couple
important.
million people.
Right. 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 Exactly. Right. Right. Well, that's why it's so important for us to share our stories, right? And I love that you wrote a book. I think that's one of the best ways to share your story, because you write it, and then at least because right now I'm writing my book, not on my life, but anyway, I have to remind myself not everybody's gonna read this, because like sometimes I'll be writing stuff and I'm like, I don't want this person to read this, like but it's important. It's important to express your truth, because I really feel like when we start to express our truth, it's like you said, we realize how connected we all are. We realize how, oh, we all experience depression, we all experience sadness. Yes, it might have been in different capacities, it might have been through different instances, different situations, but we all experience the same emotions. I love how you put that, Bree, because there's a lot of people who how do I put this, allow themselves to disconnect from other people, and that's like a whole therapy session. But they allow themselves to disconnect, and it's part of it is we're taught that, but if you're looking for connection, um allow people to connect to you through emotion. The experience don't have to be the same, okay, and it's probably not going to be the same, okay, um but that's one of the best ways to connect with people, is through emotion, and that's so
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. Thank you so much for saying that. Real quick, so
Yeah.
I know we can't skip over this. You talked about how you integrate mediumship and tarot reading, and really I really want to emphasize like more spiritual aspects into your coaching, and you even mentioned your ancestors, and I kind of want to talk about that real quick. um how well, this how do you work with those elements when you're coaching people, especially when it comes to our ancestors? I feel like I haven't really heard any coaches actually talk about that. So I just want to know how you kind of integrate that into your coaching and how important it is.
Yeah, I think that's one of the cornerstones of my coaching, and I definitely like starting this journey. I was like kind of looking at how coaching was, and I was like, it's not, that doesn't really fit for me, but it's a natural thing for me to
Mm-hmm.
connect with you as I'm doing a coaching session. Um, so something I like to do is offer um a reading for folks at the beginning or at the end of a session. And then I also, sometimes some people don't want that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we could be having a coaching session, and then next you know your ancestors are coming through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to ask permission. Like I would ask you, hey, do you want this message, right?
Mm-hmm.
um People are very open to it, as far as the clients that I have. But So again, some people are not, right? So I think me essentially using my own gifts, it really just depends on the person. I think in my
Mm-hmm.
personal, like outside of coaching, making sure like when I meditate.
Get started on your wellness journey today. Whether you are starting your wellness journey in the middle of it or finishing it, this library will help you so much on how to jumpstart your wellness. And really, it has so much more than that. It has full guides on how to quantum leap, full guides on how to manifest, and even my personal favorite, coloring books. Yes, and I'm talking unique coloring books because y'all already know who you're dealing with, okay? We have baobab coloring books, cactus plant coloring books, and so much more. And it's completely free. So please make sure to check it out, especially if you're on your wellness journey, or if you know a friend who is on the wellness journey and wants some free resources, please let them know about the wellness library. Okay, the link is in the show notes below. I love y'all so much. Let's get back to the show.
Calling them in. I will say, when I went to Ghana, it was a very spiritual experience. So it's one of those things where I came back with ancestors that I didn't know that I had through a lot of the ceremonies and things that we did. So that was also an experience as well. Like we all have ancestors wherever, whether we want to call on them or not. I think, and in the US it's very like taboo to, talk about
Right, yeah.
ancestors and talk about spirituality and like all the things. But if you go to where your roots are, those are very natural things. It's a part of Africa, the continent, right? We come from, before we were enslaved, we came from so much wisdom. We came from like so much joy, community, and all of those things. And to be stripped from that, and then also there's like generations of folks who don't know their ancestry, are coming from a place of trauma, and some people are still operating from a place of trauma as well, right? So how do you get people to like want to learn about those things, or want to like talk about healing when those are things that they're not really used to? They're operating from a place of trauma, one, because it has got them this far, right? If something has got you this far in your life and you're like, oh, I'm doing well, I turned out fine, that's one of those things where I'm sure you've heard also where people be like, oh, well, I got hit and I turned out fine. But they have issues with depression.
Yeah.
They have anxiety.
Right.
Like there's many different things of how trauma manifests, but we don't really think about how that manifests in our bodies on an individual level, and how that like truly actually impacts us. So I think with my coaching, I let people know, like, I'm going to require you to be brutally honest with yourself when coaching. Or if you don't want to do that, you're not going to you're not allowing yourself to get what you need, right? Allow yourself to actually be able to get what you need. And if you don't know what you need, ask your ancestors, but most importantly, ask yourself. Actually sit down and have a conversation with yourself. Get a journal, whatever, it is that you use to have that outlet. Like, have honest conversations with yourself. I think that is one of the most important things, whether you are in therapy or whether you're seeing a coach, right? Or whether if you're not doing any of those things, but you're on your healing journey, you're wanting to call in transformation into your own life, like that does require you to be honest, but it also requires you to release and let go of what is holding you back. And that's very difficult. That is a very difficult thing.
Yeah.
to do, because it requires you to face truths that maybe you're not like ready for. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then so when that kind of happens, you kind of just are in a cycle, and it's like, oh, why me? I don't understand why my life is like this. But like, actually, if you look, you can see like
Mm-hmm.
many different things, all the way down. Could be family. Hell, I will even say I was on Ancestry last night, and I found an article of my own family um having a shootout. An
Oh my
article. It was
God.
like from
Mm-hmm.
1969. I wasn't even born yet.
Mm.
So when
Oh
you
my God.
have families that have significant trauma,
Mm-hmm.
there's some things that need to be addressed and let go of.
Tapping in with your ancestors can allow you to do that and to bring awareness to what it is that you need to let go of, right? Um, so what are the ancestors saying? This is this is what kept on coming. What are they saying about, is there like a common is there a common thing that they
That's
keep
so
on kind of
funny.
telling us? I know, but like it just came to my
I
mind.
can't. That's hilarious. I can't answer that in the sense that everybody, since because we all have different journeys and things like that. Your ancestors may be telling you something different versus what my ancestors. We all have a different journey, right? We're all
Mm-hmm.
on various different paths, even though we might be on the same path, but we might be walking alongside each other, but you still have your things that you need to learn. I still also have my things that I need to learn as well. So those messages can be very different. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that there's some people on the that may be listening was like, ancestors. If you believe in God, talk to God. Talk to your
Mm-hmm.
relatives if they're still alive. Like
Mm-hmm.
um going out in nature, like connecting with nature. Those are all things that you can do to get clarity that you need.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people, may are seeking. I think everybody essentially is seeking something, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think outside in nature is one of the best places that you can be to find answers, to
Mm-hmm.
get
Yeah.
clarity,
Oh yeah.
to get peace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean that's yeah, peace especially. Peace especially is like there's nothing else but just being in nature. But yeah, I mean that's one thing that I found through my I don't want to say practice. Whatever it is I do. Um but yeah, I always go to trees for answers. Yes, I say practice for me is to like my practice. Like, I don't know, this is just how I am. But one of the things I do is I go out to nature. Oh, I always turn to trees. I always turn to trees. And it's like any answer, any question you have, they'll answer it. It's really it's oftentimes simple, so simple. It's such a simple answer. Like one time I was just investigating like what is true abundance, and the tree told me this how that's how I'm gonna say it, y'all. But the tree told me, true abundance is like giving without second thought. It's like how do I want to put it? And I don't think anybody's really reached this level either. Like when I think about the wealthy people that I know of, right? You know, yeah, abundance, true wealth is I have too much to give, right? Just here. I'm just throwing money, I'm just throwing money on the streets. Like I don't
Hmm.
think I've actually yet in my life, I haven't met somebody like that yet. Maybe it's because I'm American and our American culture, the American wealth culture is very um how do I want to put it? I don't want to say it's toxic, but it's very masculine. I feel like that's the best way. Nothing against men, but it's still kind of caught up in the more rigid ways of approaching wealth instead of the more like feminine and more the more feminine ways of approaching wealth. I think that's literally the only way
Hmm.
to put it. But yeah, you can always go into nature. But yeah, okay, cool. So okay, so the ancestors, they ain't saying anything. There's no collective like message.
I I will say uh for the year, for this year specifically, um
Mm-hmm.
2024 is really about learning to lean in. um I
Mm-hmm.
something that I always say is, you know, either you're going to release or you're going to learn how to let go of things, or the spirit is going to do it for you. And when spirit does it, you're not going to like it, because it's going to
Yeah.
happen in the worst. It's going to happen in one of the worst ways. It's like, I will say specifically for me, they'll be like, "Did you learn your lesson yet?" And I'm like, "No." let me let me go see if this is I need to go see this again to see if this is true. You're like, "Oh, you didn't learn your
Mm-hmm.
lesson." Okay. So I truly believe that when we are in situations where it doesn't align with us, and they're saying that you need to get out, or you need to release, you need to learn, let go, and all the other things. And if you don't do it willingly,
Mm-hmm.
again, they're gonna do it for you, and you're not gonna like how they do it. So it's like, okay, let
Mm-hmm.
me pick my battle.
Mm-hmm.
um Even we just had the solar eclipse, right? It's all about release, new renewal, um calling in abundance, manifesting, really just letting go of things that no longer serve you. But you have to be willing to release, because you can't truly manifest, or um I know when we're talking about abundance, right? But what does that really mean? In the sense of, if you're trying to create a life, or you're trying to bring things into your life, it's going to require you to let go of some things, and some of those things you're not going to
Mm-hmm.
want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right,
that's a
right.
really hard thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's something I say a lot too. Like, yeah, especially for this year. Um, that's one of the things that I think I've also learned in my 20s is that like you could do it the easy way, which is, you get your act together and you figure it out and you do the work you need to do to overcome, to get you to the next chapter of your life. Or God's gonna do it for you, which I don't want to say, I never say that it's the worst way. But because you decided not to do it the slow way and slowly prepare yourself and kind of do it on your terms, it might be in a way that shakes you up a little bit. I think that's the way I would put it, but just kind of, like,
Hmm.
hopefully it's a gentle shake. Well, usually, actually what I
Most of the
found is
time it
that
ain't.
that's for those who don't listen. So this how I put it. Usually, God will let you know a couple of times, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. But if you get to the sixth, seventh, eighth time, yeah, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough. So hopefully, you one of those. But I've learned too, people are different. Some people I'll see, um, friends in the past, they learn the lesson over and over and over again. And I try to tell them, but then at some point I'm like, okay, we need to. I was like, girl, we try to help them. I need to move on. But it's hard to watch. Like I can't imagine
Hmm.
being God and like seeing all my babies just like like I don't know. That's kind of hard. So it's not easy for
I
God
seen
either,
something.
source or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I seen something where it was like my spirit guy looking at me, and then the spirit guy was looking down, just rolling his eyes. I was just like,
Yeah.
bro, that's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
You gotta learn how to pick the
yeah.
battle.
You've got to, yeah, that's one of the biggest things I'm learning right now. Yeah, with certain relationships in my life, I have to start telling myself, you know, before I respond, or send that text, I have to ask myself, like, what relationship do we want? Like, do we want the
Mm-hmm.
old relationship or do we want a new one? And if we want a new one, you better do something different. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I mean, that's the truth. That's the truth. Look, people listening, we giving you some really good coaching tips right now. So y'all better write your notes down because these are like the best hacks.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the eclipse, of course, I had a lot of epiphanies from this eclipse. Even now, like one of the biggest things I think I told you before the show was that, like, I don't want to settle down. Like, it's something that, like, I thought I had to do by a certain age, and I try to manifest it too. I really try to manifest it, and I think God was kind of being like, no, this is not what you want. This is not what you want. So yeah. Okay, so to wrap up, so I know we've gone a little bit over time, I wanted to ask you, oh, okay, so you have transformed so many times in your life, and for those of y'all who want a deeper dive, definitely buy Bree's book. Was it the going deep into my
Deep
soul?
down in my soul.
Deep down in my soul. I know it was deep. I knew it was like in the soul, but okay, deep down in my soul. Please make sure to buy that book if you really want to have an insight into her experience, her journey. So you've transformed so many times to the Bree that I got the privilege of meeting and talking to today. What is the expanded version of Bree? What does she look like? What is she doing? How is she living her life?
Oof.
I know
I would
that's a big one
say
because you've done
I'm
a
still trying
lot.
to figure it out.
Okay. That's fair.
um, I will say right now in my journey, I am, of course, getting my coaching practice off the ground. I'm working on my own tarot cards. Um,
Ooh,
and I think
okay.
overall, yes, I'm very excited about the tarot cards. I'm so excited. I'm almost done. I have maybe like 14 or so more cards to go.
Yeah, you
Um,
designed your logo, right?
but outside of that, I did.
Oh, girl. Okay, so y'all check out her
I
website,
did.
look at her logo. If it's gonna be anything like her logo, the tarot cards are gonna be lit. Oh my, I'm really excited. Okay, so anyway.
I'm very excited for the cards. But I think this year specifically, I'm learning to lean more into myself and my own gifts. I have a couple projects. I'm specifically trying to get something, a healing circle under Evolving Soul, specifically for Black folks with disabilities. So I'm really
Oh, beautiful.
learning to
Yeah.
lean more into my own gifts and essentially creating a path and opening up some doors for myself
That's beautiful. And others too. And others. Like that's gonna be, I think,
and
really
others.
transformative. Yeah, because like you said earlier, there isn't, I mean, as far as I know, there isn't a space for Black folks with disability. There isn't really, I don't like, there's nobody out there that I've seen to really empower Black folks with disabilities, and I'm so excited for where your journey is going to take you. I already know it's going to take you far, and it's going to lead to transformations and expansions that you probably haven't even imagined yet. So I'm really excited for that, Bree. um Make sure to buy Bree's book and check out her coaching on her website. And Bree was very generous today. And for the first 7 people who contact Bree with the code Transformation to Expansion, you will get a free tarot reading. Okay. Bree was super generous with this. So make sure you guys hop on that. Bree, do you have anything that you would like to add before we close?
Yeah, this was a really good like discussion. It gave me energy, it fed my soul, so I'm very happy to be here with you today to just spend time and talk about these things. And yeah, to all the folks that's listening, you matter. Your healing matters. You have favor over your life, whether you see it or not. You are powerful. We are powerful beings, and you deserve to have a life of joy. You deserve to have a life of peace. And in order to get to those things, sometimes you're going to have to do hard things and face hard truths and make hard decisions. But you can do it because, again, you are worthy and you have favor over your life. And I believe in you. So you also should believe in yourself as well.
Beautiful. That was so good, Bree. Well, I'm gonna let her close, y'all. I love y'all so much. Thank y'all for listening. Thank you so much, Bree, for being here. And we will see y'all. Well, I will see y'all next week.